So about another year went by, and a summer I was hitchhiking and I went down to Malta. And as I was going down to Malta, I was with a friend who owned a house down there, and I could feel this energy building. I kept thinking, you know what, it feels like I'm going to have a really big experience. And I could feel it like days in advance. And I remember getting to this house, and he was showing me around. It was a 4-story townhouse, and at the base he had a cave, this rock, hewed out, and it literally went off the back of his door, which is subterranean, into this cave. It had whitewashing, and it had this lone, sort of very modern chaise lounge chair in the center, and the lights came on when we went in, and I said to my host, I said, this is where I'm going to sleep. And he said, yes, you stay here in the cave. And so I thought, I'm going to do my OB stuff from here for the week. And so a couple days went by and had a few basic experiences, and then it came. I got out of body and I felt, this is a big one. And I was aiming for this again, this higher energy state, because I really wanted to get more information about that. I'm moving through these layers very quickly, and again my ascent starts to slow. And again I'm in this sort of void. And again it seems as if the lights went on, and there was one solitary one of these beings again. And I was just like devastated. I was like, why? And I immediately started to make my return. I didn't even want to stay. And then suddenly something came over me. And I waited. And it was as if this being opened its energy field completely. Just went, completely opened its energy. Invited me to read it. To read everything about it. And I started to tap into it. And one of the first things that I felt was a level of love and compassion that I had never felt from any human, that I'd never felt from one of my most advanced guides. I had never felt that sort of energy before. I read a little bit deeper, and I'd realized that this non-human intelligence, this ET from another system of consciousness, another hologram, used to be human, grew up in the human system, had hundreds and hundreds of human lifetimes, developed through trial and error like we are, to the point to where what Monroe would say graduated this system. So its higher self collected all its bits, unified, and it left the system satisfied that it knew what it was to be human. It went off to another holographic system that was in place, that had its own homeworld like Earth, had its own counterpart levels like Earth, the astral planes, etc. And it started growing and developing through that system. And I'm reading all this. This individual was on the vanguard, the very sort of echelon, the top rung of graduating this second system of consciousness. It was the best of that species. And he was so powerful. His level of manifesting ability was like nothing. His level of creative ability was like nothing I'd experienced before. He said to me, I want to show you some things. And I said, sure, I wasn't going anywhere. This was incredible. And he said, I want to create some little holograms for you to use, to explore. I'm going to create a world like yours, like your Earth. And I'm going to insert your consciousness into a replica of your body. And I want you to experience what it is to be a fully actualized human, to actualize the fullest potential as a human being on your physical world. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And so he said, the first thing we're going to do is I want to show you what it's like to be one of your great creative individuals like Leonardo da Vinci. He said, I want to show you this. And he took my consciousness, inserted it into this hollow body, this holographic body, into this holographic world, which was a replica of Earth. And I'm now being zipped fast forward through this life as an artist. And it was as if he was sort of had a dial, and he was taking it from 1 up to 10, and showing me that a 1 is like a certain level of creativity as an artist, a 2 is another level, a 3 and a 4 and a 5, and got up to about a 6. And he said, right here is about Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. He said, as creative as these individuals were, they weren't topping out at their full potential as humans in a creative way. They had a lot more that they could have done. And so sort of pulled my energy out of that experience. And it was as if I led a whole lifetime. He then inserted me again. He said, before he inserted me, he said, you are a teacher in your world. I want to show you your full potential as a teacher if you choose this path. I was like, okay. And he inserted me again into this hologram. And again, I'm living this life, fast forwarding through this journey. And again, he's doing the dial as if he's ramping up the experiences. And he got to about a 2 and a 3. He's like, I could feel this is where I was at back on earth as a teacher. And we got up to a 4 and a 5, and I was just being shown stuff. I was like, this is just insane. Got up to a 6, and I asked him to stop. I couldn't, in a sense, emotionally take what I was experiencing. And I asked him to stop. And he pulled my energy out, and he said, why would you want me to stop? Why did you want me to stop? And this is all telepathic stuff and not actually verbalizing. And I said, because I didn't feel worthy of what I was experiencing. And he said to me, with this level of love and compassion, he said, every human in your world is worthy. Every single human in your world. That made such an impact on me. That's my top 2 experience out of all 8 years of this conscious journeying. Top 2 experience. It just flattened everything else, bar one experience. Flattened it all. Took the wind out of everything. We had a few more exchanges. He said, if you'd like to meet with me again in the future, put an energy, put a signal out to me. If I come, I come. If I don't come, I don't come. He said, don't be too attached to it. And he left a few sort of ideas with me to digest back in the physical world. He said, through meditation, this will come better through, but don't try now. And in that moment, I was reading some underlying stuff, which he was showing me. He was showing me the worst of his species, and he was paralleling it to the worst of our species. He was showing me the mid-ground of their species, the mid-ground of our species. He was showing me the best of his species, and he was showing me the best of ours. It's at that point I dropped my snobbery and my sort of dislike and my anger towards these particular non-human intelligences, and my discrimination that I'd started to develop, in a sense, for other species that I've met, thinking, you know what? We're no different. Look at the atrocities we commit to our fellow brothers and sisters of consciousness on this level of reality. It really made me deeply think. I came back from that experience. I felt I couldn't integrate properly back into the world. It felt as if everything had been pulled out from underneath me. Many beliefs in one go were just eradicated. I was saying at the beginning of this workshop how we need to have humor. Deep humor for exploring this stuff because of what's going to come. It was humor over the next few weeks that helped me integrate back properly. Grounding back into this body, grounding back into this level of reality from what I've experienced. Trying to come to terms with what I was shown about, the full potential of a human. What I was shown. What I was shown about his species and our species. And how those are interlocked, interwoven. What affects us has the potential to affect them. Whatever takes place in our system as a whole can affect adjacent systems. It showed me this belief that we have within our spiritual circles about oneness, interconnectedness. What I was shown that experience, there's no getting away from it. It goes beyond belief, even a type of knowing. To have that sort of thing shown to you in such a raw way, you can't step away from it. It deeply, deeply affects you. And so suddenly I started to feel more balance about all the experiences that I had with these other, sort of beings. And I thought, this dude was so powerful. Coming up to be a double graduate of 2 different systems, his energy just was no match for anything I'd encountered before. And I wondered how much of some of that previous encounters with his species maybe he set up in the first place to prime me for that. I had to know. I thought, I want to know if that's possible, if he could have done that. And it was possible. I was being shown something. I was being primed for something. These were all little tests to see if I was ready to keep pushing boundaries. And this is something Tom Campbell, we invited to a 9-day workshop recently in Ireland, and Campbell said the same thing. He said reality is always putting out these little tests to see if you're ready to go a little bit deeper, to explore a little bit further. And I knew exactly what he meant by that. I was almost, in a sense, having a private conversation with Campbell while he was speaking to everybody else. It was a weird feeling. So anyhow, had that experience, and then came to mind was one of Robert Monroe's experiences, which helped bring even more balance to my mind about this level of reality. And reading this...